Hey, Max here. So I did not expect this today at all to be doing this video. We got a trade. The Steelers are getting Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, a 7th rounder for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and a 5th rounder. And then other news, of course, Adam Schefter saying some dumb stuff about TJ Watt potentially getting, or he's being asked about. Pittsburgh hasn't shown any willingness to deal him. A lot of things happening in Pittsburgh right now. I want to get into it. First, the trade. I think this Watt stuff is smoke. If it's not, I will cry. Oh man, like a grown man shouldn't cry even at his own father's funeral. I will cry. But let's talk about this trade, right? Why the Steelers did it, and everything around it, both on the Steelers side, Dolphins side. We'll focus mostly on the Steelers since that's what I'm a fan of. I got my Steelers shirt on today and everything. But this is not like the Steelers historically, right? Like historically, they're a draft, develop, win championship teams. It did not really work under a previous regime near the end because we started taking terrible first-round picks like Najee Harris, Kenny Pickett, etc. So they've made a few moves, and I'm like okay with it, right? It's good to get into the 21st century. A lot of great teams that have built through trades, those Cowboys of the 90s. Let's talk about the exact players involved. Jalen Ramsey here. He's a little bit older a cornerback. He's still a good player. He's not what he used to be. Jonnu Smith is basically because Arthur Smith loves him. I thought that what I liked about Jonnu Smith was the fact that everyone was like mad at Arthur Smith in Atlanta for getting Jonnu the ball instead of like Kyle Pitts in their fantasy team. But like we realized a couple years later, oh wait, hang on, maybe Kyle Pitts just doesn't care for football and he's actually kind of bad. So I feel like history is kind of getting, I wouldn't say rewritten, but like understood more about Kyle Pitts, and the coaches knew it before us outside did. Now the downside, right? Minkah Fitzpatrick, like those 2 minutes where I saw the Steelers acquire Jalen Ramsey before I saw what the Steelers ended up giving up for him, it was elation, man. It was 2 minutes of, let's just say, marital bliss, right? Am I right, fellas? So that was awesome. And then losing Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I want to talk about him for a little bit here because there was some rumblings last year in post-game press conferences by other members of the secondary, without naming names, saying someone's out there playing hero ball. So the fact that Minkah, who was a crazy playmaker for so many years for the Steelers, ended up getting like schemed around, avoided a lot. He ended up starting to press a little bit, trying to get that because like I don't know if you saw us fans saying like, hey man, you haven't made a play in a year and a half, trying to do something. So he tried to jump around and get thrown for a touchdown. There was definitely a lot of breakdowns communication wise, a lot in the Steelers secondary, and he should have been that main guy communicating. So I can see why the Steelers were fine giving him up. I'm sure they didn't want to, right? I really doubt they wanted to. Now the cap situation for both teams, we'll get to in a bit when we get to the cap portion of this, but maybe they thought, okay, well, maybe Ramsey's a better person for our scheme because unlike what I want to do, which is a man press scheme, get up in their face, jam them, let the pass rush get home, delay them a little bit. The Steelers like to play off a lot, even though JPJ is much better at man press. Ramsey will be a good chess piece to basically be like match up against like slots, motion, Z's, that kind of stuff. And, like he can play safety. I don't think they're going to play him at safety because there's no reason to trade Minkah, who's a couple years younger, for Jalen Ramsey to play the same position because they moved Minkah last year back to deep center field because the previous year he was much more in the box due to the injuries, the linebacker position, safeties, that kind of stuff. So they moved him back, and maybe they just thought like, hey, a deep center fielder isn't as valuable to our defense as a guy near the line of scrimmage that can kind of like do a better job taking away the bigger bodies that you see near the middle, right? Like the tight ends, the big slots, because like the only slots they had was like Beanie Bishop, and he's 5'9", not a huge athlete. So there's speculation on who they're going to replace Minkah Fitzpatrick. Beanie Bishop potentially moved to safety. I don't know the size requirement there. That would be tough to move him, but he is a ball hawk, right? Those interceptions he made last year. Maybe Rodgers is going to see ghosts in practice with Beanie Bishop. And then with that said, who else at safety? Like Justin Simmons is a potential replacement for Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's still a free agent. I don't know. He seemed to have lost a step. He's a little older. Castro out of Iowa, they got him as an undrafted free agent. That would be great. If he steps in at free safety and plays like he played on film, that would be awesome. I was really surprised because I think a lot of people want to project it as like a fourth rounder, that he just completely went undrafted due to testing and stuff and not being the greatest athlete. But safeties are generally not like, they don't have to be insane athletes like Troy Polamalu. So as long as it's not Thornhill, right? If you're not good enough to play for the Browns, like, yikes, right? And I don't know. We'll see, of course, who replaces Fitzpatrick. I'm a little worried about that position, no doubt. But that is. Let's talk about Jonnu a little bit, and Arthur Smith's best friend, the Smiths connection. He's not the greatest of blockers. So I know Arthur Smith loves his 3 tight end sets, his non-fullback. Do they even have a fullback on the roster? I'd have to check if they added somebody this offseason. But they didn't have somebody last year. It was Connor Hayward was basically it, and they're like, Connor Hayward, you're not really that good. So Jonnu Smith is kind of going to be, like I said about Jalen Ramsey defense, maybe that's it. Like, the two sides of the ball, and I really haven't finished talking about the defense yet anyways. The two sides of the ball both getting pieces that they're going to move around and kind of like do a good job with. I'll swing back to defense in a second. I'm kind of scatterbrained. I'm sorry. So Jonnu Smith here is going to play like do a lot of motions. Like Arthur Smith loves giving him like jet sweeps instead of the ball. Remember the Bijan stuff? Everybody hated him for that. But Jonnu Smith, okay, I like it, right? We'll provide a little bit of a matchup nightmare. Very similar skill sets, I feel like, to Freiermuth, who's also not a great blocker. Controls the middle of the field. Jonnu maybe a little bit. I don't know. They're pretty similar athletes, I feel like, at this point. Maybe Jonnu is slightly better. But it's kind of a wash. The best tight end the Steelers got is clearly Darnell Washington. But like, he's basically a tackle out there at tight end with the ability to block. He's also like massive, jumps over dudes, freak athlete. So maybe it's just kind of like to go more into that. And the Steelers want to play bully ball with everything they've done. So getting another big body there to basically be the slot receiver for the Steelers, because there's been a lot of teams that have swifted over to like bigger slots, right? Ever since like Cooper Kupp's like, hey man, I can be tall and amazing sitting in zones. So that's what we saw last year to Jonnu Smith with the Dolphins, kind of like near the end of the year-ish, middle to the end of the year. He really kind of took over. Like, fantasy teams won championships based off his pickup last year. So I can see the versatility aspect to him. Getting rid of Pickens was an absolute L in my opinion. Picking up Jonnu is a downgrade, but it's like a different sort of thing. Different sort of player, obviously, versus the vertical field stretcher. I would have loved 2 vertical field stretchers, right? Go like single back ace and then just run 2 streaks down the sidelines. You can either run the ball up the middle with everybody bailing out because you got to double those guys on the sideline, or just toss them if they get a one-on-one coverage. And obviously they got a different plan, right? And I do actually, if I'm going to switch back to the defense and the overall thought process, I do understand it from Khan's point of view, giving up Minkah and some aspect, because he's going to have to get paid in a couple years. The problem is, like, Ramsey already got paid. So you're going to be paying a lot of money to Jalen, who I think NFL analysts would say, like, 1-for-1, Jalen's probably better than Minkah at this moment at their respective positions. Because we look at, like, their PFF grades last year, it's, as much as PFF matters, it's not that great for secondary play. Minkah ended up being, like, the 44th best. And then Ramsey, if we switch over to the Dolphins, where are you at, Miami? Ramsey, based off their numbers, right? Their charted every play numbers. Oh, sorry, you guys can't see that. My bad. Ramsey is 11th. Okay, Ramsey was 11th last year, and then Minkah, I'll show you once again, 44th at safety. So the Steelers are trying to just acquire talent, guys that have caused like problems on their defense. So Khan thinking ahead, especially with Watt's contract to come. Maybe he's like the thing about that is, like, with the salary cap and everything, Minkah had 2 years left on his contract. Maybe like, we don't want to see a holdout next year because this guy wants to get paid as the number 1 safety. But the thing is, like, the number 1 safety contract is not more than Jalen Ramsey's getting paid right now. So I feel like it's a straight quality of player trade. If we go back over to, wow, I really can't see anything. It's here somewhere, man. Oh, I am not an investigative detective whatsoever. So Ramsey getting paid $24. He got a $1.5 million bonus on top of it. And then Jonnu got another 1 year, $12 million contract. So Cap-wise, going forward, I think the Dolphins got a little bit more relief than the Steelers. Obviously, things like signing bonuses that Ramsey's contract had. This stuff stays with the Dolphins because it's already been paid out on their cap. The Steelers are taking a $6 million hit the next 2 years from Minkah Fitzpatrick's contract, but they're getting a little bit of relief with his salary. But then they're taking it all back with the salary, the year-to-year salary that we got on Ramsey's contract, plus options, regular roster bonuses and stuff. So it's a complicated business, but the Steelers, I think, overall, talent-wise, got better with this trade. The long-term solution is they're trying to do a 1-year push with Rodgers and then start rebuild next year with a rookie quarterback that everything's going to take when the draft comes to Pittsburgh. Do you make this trade if you expect to cut Ramsey next year? I would say no. And as far as defense, I'm not I talk a lot about chess and stuff, but I'm pretty sure Mike Tomlin and friends are playing a lot of checkers, because it seems unfortunate to me with TJ Watt, the inability for them to basically take advantage of TJ Watt getting chipped every play and send extra blitzers, do different things in order to basically say, hey, you're going to take away our guy. We'll mess you up by either dropping the guy, sending an extra guy there. So you got 2 guys going against our 1, but then we got another guy coming through free. The one times they did do those blitzes, it actually ended up being super successful against teams. So, and I think some of that maybe played into the Minkah stuff, where he tried to roam a bit and try to make plays. Because I think I already talked about that. His fan was making fun of him. And overall, just a complete breakdown. I don't know. I still want Mike Tomlin to be the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just want the defensive coach to be better. But Terrell Austin, he doesn't really do the defense, right? Because Tomlin is still kind of in charge of it. So I hope not to see this base cover 3 or base cover 1 the whole year again. Mix in more pressure. Mix in the ability to kind of mismatch and dictate to the offense and then the offense dictate to them. The biggest thing with the defense, and I'm not going to get off too much of a tangent here from the Ramsey Jonnu stuff, is man, dude, what the H? With the Lamar stuff in the playoffs, changing it, you've been great against him for so long, and then all of a sudden you change your scheme for the last 2 games, you get destroyed. And they just overthought it, and it's unfortunate to see happen, right? So on the Dolphins side, the Dolphins cleared up contract. They got a safety back. So the fans that bought his jersey a long time ago, if they didn't burn it in the first trade, guess what? The patient man shall profit, right? That's straight up stonks, okay? So they get their safeties, because I know the Dolphins, they've made calls also from what I'm seeing about other tight ends. So it must have been something the Steelers would not take. What's happening, dude? There it is. The Steelers would not take Ramsey, or they wouldn't give up Minkah without also getting Jonnu. So there must have been a thing there, because they basically have no known top tier tight ends on their roster. Sorry, you guys can't see this. Jonnu here got traded. Julian Hill. So we'll see if they can make a trade. They got an undrafted free agent here. Jalen Kyers, I've not looked at any of his tape. On defense, though, they needed a safety. They got one. I know they brought in Melawanfu. Who they drafted? Dante Trader, right? They drafted him. And then McCord, they got a couple guys, second-year player there. At cornerback, they did draft also, if I recall correctly, Jason Marshall here. Yeah, Dolphins, I don't know. It's tough for them because I feel like their coaching staffs, the Steelers coaching staff's in the hot seat too, to give up talent like this, thinking it's better for the long-term future of your franchise due to salary cap issues. Obviously, Ramsey was very unhappy. They got an insanely talented player back if they can bring him back to his normal style, his playmaking ways. But that's kind of how trades are. Both teams end up hating it. That means it was probably a pretty good trade. I just want to know, is there anything else left? No, we talked a lot of stuff. in this trade. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And then, like, is TJ getting traded? Because why would you trade TJ after making this trade? But there's been a lot of things that Khan has done that I don't know. But I guess we don't know behind the scenes. We really don't. And their personalities and what it takes for the teams to be the best teams possible. But it definitely seems like Tomlin is making big moves. And that's what you want on a team that's always said you're 10-7, man. You got to make a big splash to not be in the middle anymore. And this was clearly a big splash. So we'll see if any more are coming.